Citizens of Azeroth, attention! A groundbreaking event of galactic proportions has occurred. Something no one could have anticipated has happened. The Hearthstone team has released an expansion that shattered numerous records and is vying for the title of the greatest in the game's 10-year history. Today, we'll delve into the astonishing impact of the first full-fledged crossover in Hearthstone, discuss the best builds for effective and budget-friendly competitive play, and uncover the challenges this release has brought to light. If you haven't bought the mini set yet, this video will help you decide if it's worth it.
Time to rock and roll!
Hello my friends. My name is Bot Mathematician and this is Holomancer.
Also, Chief Investigative Reporter Dora joined us this evening.
Gadgets and Gazette always gets the scoop. Heroes of StarCraft is Hearthstone's first ever full-fledged crossover. While we've seen awkward attempts like Diablo invading various Hearthstone modes in the past, we've never witnessed such a large-scale integration with another gaming universe, especially in the form of a card set.
Despite this, the announcement of the Heroes of StarCraft mini-set sparked highly polarized opinions within the community.
We've heard a wide range of reactions regarding the potential power of the new cards. Some feared they would be weak and irrelevant, while others predicted they would be overpowered. Even the set's design concept, like the multi-class cards and the isolated nature of its synergies, drew unexpected criticism, fueling heated debates. Our team was also divided. Dora often takes the role of the critic in our videos, absorbing community opinions that contrast with our own.
That's the mark of a true reporter. In our previous video, we hosted a debate-style discussion on the strengths and weaknesses of Heroes of StarCraft. Unlike me, the guys were very hopeful about the new mini-set's big impact and talked about its potential to become the best in the history of the game. In turn, my skeptical position gathered significantly more support in the comments. But after the release, something incredible awaited us. The nerf to just one card, Ethereal Oracle, combined with the release of a highly specialized card set, resulted in a near-complete reset of the game's meta. We witnessed an entirely new competitive landscape. The impact of these new cards is unparalleled, far exceeding previous expansions, let alone mini-sets.
Heroes of StarCraft is arguably the best expansion in Hearthstone's history, at least by several key metrics. For the first time ever, 100% of the cards in the set found a use, at least in experimentation. While not all of them are highly effective, players have discovered scenarios where each card can be used. This means that despite the increase in the total number of cards, the set contains no completely unplayable elements. We can confidently say this is a first in Hearthstone's 10-year history.
And the records don't stop there. After analyzing nearly 800 popular builds during the post-release period, we found that the set's overall influence exceeded 30%. In other words, almost 1 in 3 cards in current decks comes from the new mini-set. For comparison, the influence of past mini-sets ranged from a disappointing 1% to an exceptional 6%. Heroes of StarCraft has had at least 5 times more impact than the most successful mini-sets to date.
The advantages over mini-sets are undeniable, but what about full-size expansions? To compare, the post-release influence of Perils in Paradise was 25%, Whizbang Workshop didn't exceed 24% after rotation, and Festival of Legends peaked at just 17% the year before.
Since 2018, only 2 expansions, Descent of Dragons and Voyage to the Sunken City, have had a greater impact on the meta, and it's worth noting that they contained over twice as many cards.
Ashes of Outland, which introduced the Demon Hunter class in a completely broken state after rotation, had a roughly comparable effect. Yet the 49 cards from Heroes of StarCraft have achieved the impossible. Their influence has surpassed every expansion we've seen so far.
Let's take a quick look at the decks that contributed to this expansion's massive success. Battlecruiser Shaman is the flagship deck of the new expansion. Few expected the Terran faction to achieve such outstanding results. This is the most consistent build, with a proven win rate of 61% at higher ranks. The deck's cost hinges on 4 legendary and 2 epic card, assuming you haven't already purchased the mini set. The archetype is gradually evolving and shedding unnecessary elements. For example, Ghost has been rapidly disappearing from builds. Meanwhile, Missile Pod, combined with Starport, can create one of the most powerful board clearing combos if you manage to find Poisonous. While this strategy builds on the previous favorite, Swarm Shaman, this deck feels entirely fresh due to the high number of new cards and its narrowly focused synergies. Dungar Druid continues to terrorize Standard. Unfortunately, the Protoss synergy turned out to be too weak compared to the class's reigning favorite. Holy light, how tired I am of this strategy. The Dungar archetype hasn't seen any significant changes, but players are experimenting with ways to integrate Artanis. Unlike other hero cards, Artanis isn't strictly tied to a faction, allowing it to fit into various strategies. However, the archetype still suffers from its high cost, despite its impressive win rate. This contradiction is reflected in the efficiency factor metric, which evaluates how cost-effective the deck is for climbing the ladder based on the number of high-rarity cards. At 51%, it's a middling result in the current meta.
A dedicated Terran warrior archetype never materialized. Instead, parts of the Terran synergy were successfully incorporated into the hydration strategy, which allows repeated resurrection of battle cruisers. However, the high cost of this deck has led to a disappointingly low efficiency factor.
Elemental Mage remains the most budget-friendly, efficient, and straightforward option in the meta. The mini set had no impact on the deck, but its incredibly high efficiency factor proves that players with limited resources have no excuse to ignore this strategy. Weapon Rogue is another deck that's very beginner and free-to-play players friendly. This archetype held a niche position in the meta for a long time, but the wave of experimentation following the mini-set's release propelled it into the spotlight, making it one of the most influential strategies in the current game. Hunter seems unsure of the best way to utilize the new cards. The class is still in a phase of heavy experimentation, but the most effective deck at the moment is a new version of Discover Hunter that integrates Zerg's synergy. The major downside of this deck is its reliance on a significant number of high-rarity cards. While many of these cards are widely used and popular, the investment required to build this deck might be too risky for new players.
Interaction with locations looked entirely unviable during the reveal season, but players' fears turned out to be unfounded. Location Warlock is a hybrid deck that incorporates elements from various strategies. Its Zerg core makes the gameplay feel exciting and completely fresh. However, the high cost and reliance on specific high-rarity cards make this deck more of a premium option. Zerg Death Knight is gradually losing its effectiveness. Players are trying to integrate the Zerg core into various archetypes, with numerous experiments still ongoing. However, the best performing strategy at the moment remains the Deathrattle strategy. The Zerg faction has transformed the Death Knight into a more player-friendly class. Most experiments are budget-friendly and accessible to a wide range of players. Due to the strategy's high popularity, Viper has become an increasingly frustrating card, significantly detracting from the enjoyment of the current meta.
Something strange is happening with Paladin. The class's overall effectiveness has dropped below 50% for the first time in years. Starship Paladin is the best the class currently has to offer, which shocks me. Even though this synergy seemed entirely unviable on paper, it has proven to be competitive in practice. This is yet another reminder that modern Hearthstone is completely unpredictable.
The Protoss Priest archetype has finally taken shape, despite numerous challenges. While the deck boasts a positive win rate at higher ranks, it remains highly unstable and teeters on the edge of competitiveness. Nevertheless, it stands as the best option among the class's new builds. What I find particularly telling is that players are choosing to explore this fresh style of play over sticking to older, more reliable strategies. This speaks to the high level of interest in experimenting with new gameplay. On a less positive note, we must acknowledge the year's biggest underdog, the Demon Hunter class. Illidan is struggling to make use of the new cards, with most attempts being neither popular nor stable. The best among the worst for this class is an experimental attack archetype built around Mutalisk combo plays. While its overall win rate hovers slightly above 50%, its negative efficiency factor clearly indicates that investing resources in this deck is not worthwhile at the moment.
In the end, only 3 classes failed to find effective new archetypes. Personally, I really like Protoss Mage, but the deck isn't stable enough for competitive play. That said, it has enormous potential and could spiral out of control in the near future. Archon Rogue is also an intriguing option but lacks the power to make a significant impact. As for Druids, they are simply too strong and self-sufficient to rely on a Protoss archetype. However, players seem to have found an unexpected use for the new cards. Over the past few days, we've been observing the emergence of a revitalized version of the Hero Power archetype. This strategy has incorporated just 3 new cards, but that's been enough to breathe life back into an old favorite. Its most significant advantage is its affordability, and players at higher ranks are gradually abandoning Dungar Druid in favor of this new experimental playstyle, and the growth of the influence of this way of playing resembles a snowball. The deck is extremely toxic and can deal over 20 damage per turn with combos. We may have just gotten one of the potential nerf candidates. The unexpected appearance of this build shows that the meta is still evolving and has not yet found its final form.
If we set aside efficiency for a moment, all classes received new gameplay options, whether in the form of brand new archetypes or significant updates to older concepts. Most of these decks are competitive and highly popular among players.
Success isn't just about how the cards impact the meta, it's also about player satisfaction. At least in our community, the response has been overwhelmingly positive. Satisfaction levels have increased several-fold, with over 60% of respondents reporting they're pleased with the current state of the game. It's been a very long time since we've seen results this good. Here's a detailed analysis of overall satisfaction over the past 6 months. Perils in Paradise was, and remains, a dark chapter in the game's history. The release of its mini-set only worsened the situation. The return of Prince Renathal and the subsequent release of the Great Dark Beyond expansion helped to some extent, but the low impact of the new set, combined with the toxic dominance of Ethereal Oracle and the lingering influence of ideas from Perils in Paradise, caused a significant decline in player satisfaction.
By contrast, the Heroes of StarCraft mini-set has clearly demonstrated the stark difference in how players perceive the meta. At least for now, the results from the post-release period are incredibly promising.
While we've never been fans of the mini-set concept, believing it often does more harm than good, Heroes of StarCraft is the embodiment of what an ideal mini-expansion should look like, in our opinion.
A key factor in this set's success is the absence of universal tools and the isolated nature of its synergies. This design choice significantly limits players' ability to extract individual overpowered elements and pair them with the broader card pool to create broken combos. In most cases, the linear synergies encourage players to use as many new tools together as possible to maximize their potential, creating a fresh and exciting experience. Interestingly, we've heard considerable criticism of this approach due to the potential long-term inefficiency of these cards. However, if the community is serious about reducing power creep in the future, isolating cards within contained synergies is one of the ways to curb power levels. Moreover, if the mini-set doesn't receive direct support in future expansions, it might actually be a good thing. This would free up space for new ideas, eliminate the need for stronger cards, and, most importantly, improve the experience for new and returning players. The unique approach developers took with the Heroes of StarCraft mini-set inspires great hope that Hearthstone will enter a bright new chapter in its history.
Guys, everything looks extremely positive and promising, but you're completely overlooking a very serious issue revealed by the mini-set. Despite the hype, the significant impact of new cards, the emergence of numerous fresh strategies, and the high satisfaction among our audience, the activity of players using deck trackers has not returned to its previous levels following the sharp decline. The counter on HS Replay has shown slow growth, but it pales in comparison to the numbers seen after the game's return to China and the release of the Great Dark Beyond. Similarly, statistics from HS Guru, based on the most popular decks, show some growth, but the total number of matches in Standard is still more than twice as low compared to the same period.
These metrics are heavily skewed due to the initial surge and subsequent drop in activity on Chinese servers. However, even so, such figures are concerning.
Players using deck trackers are the most engaged audience, and such a significant drop in their interest indicates that Hearthstone failed to retain its newly regained audience after its triumphant return to China. Furthermore, the incredibly successful release of the mini-set didn't lead to a substantial return of players to the game. We can't speak to how severe the decline is globally, but this unusual contrast between the success of the new set and the modest growth in the most active audience should make developers and executives rethink the current state of the game.
To be fair, the Heroes of StarCraft mini-set has at least triggered some noticeable activity growth, unlike all previous mini-sets. Those, at best, had little to no impact on match numbers or, in the worst case, even led to a decline.
Finally, we want to ask you the big question. Do you agree that Heroes of StarCraft is the best expansion in Hearthstone history?
Does the current approach of the developers give you hope?
Let us know your thoughts below and join the polls in your community tab. Remember to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to support our content and stay updated.
Traditionally, we want to express our boundless gratitude to our sponsors.
Dear friends, your help is invaluable. We will be grateful for any support.
Okay, that's all for today. Thank you for spending this time with us. We really hope that we will have the opportunity to get in touch in the next video.
Take care of yourself.
And never give up.
Job's done.